Good afternoon, welcome to Pendinas and a Subemfro Cymru. Welcome to Dinas Head in Pembrokeshire in Wales. Today I'd like to talk about the big changes astrologically that are coming through 2026. A lot of eminent astrologers are very excited about this period that's now approaching, 2026. And I'd like to start by discussing a clock. If you notice that the hands of a clock revolve, orbit, very similar to planetary orbs, celestial orbs. So you've got a second hand, right? Second hand goes around very quickly, one rotation in 60 seconds. The equivalent could be the moon, right? Every 30 days the moon goes around very fast, astrologically speaking. You know, you have a new moon and then a full moon within 2 weeks. It changes very quickly. However, you get further away from the Earth and you come to Venus or Mercury or Mars or the Sun, and perhaps these personal planets might be thought of as the minute hand. A little bit more topical or relevant perhaps when you're telling the time, right? However, in many languages, for example Spanish, ¿qué hora es? What hour is it? It's the shortest hand, the slowest hand, that is most relevant, topical, of interest. And so the equivalent with astrology would perhaps be the outer planets. So mid-range you've got Jupiter, Saturn, then you get to the further out ones, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And these are the societal planets, perhaps. They're not the personal planets. They are the collective consciousness. And we're in the process of, perhaps between 2023 and 2027, we're in the process of what you might call a sea change. The sands of time beneath our feet are shifting. The tides are changing. And all three. Uranus is leaving Taurus, going into Gemini, from an earth sign to an air sign. Neptune leaving a water sign, Pisces, moving into a fire sign, Aries, hand in hand with Saturn, interestingly, which is one in from Uranus, so similarly quite slow. Not quite as slow as Pluto, which takes 250 years, give or take, to do the orbit, so to speak. And Pluto has pretty much already, but very recently, especially on Pluto's relative timescale, has just changed from Capricorn, where it was since 2008, was it 2007, 2008, until 2023-4. It transitions back and forth in retrograde, so it took a year or two to fully move into Aquarius. Now, you may remember the song from the 1970s. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Da, 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 da. And those lyrics weren't just plucked out of the ether. They were appropriate for an even bigger orbital rotation, orbit, that is known as the Great Year, approximately 25,000 years. And this great year is the whole solar system moving within the galaxy. And we've just finished the Age of Pisces. It actually goes the other direction to all the planets. And so it's gone from the Age of Pisces, approximately 2,100 years, into, or moving as we speak, you know, slow movements, into the Age of Aquarius, as the song alludes to. And talking about timepieces, if you get away from watches and clocks, you come to calendars, right? And there's an ancient calendar that the Mayans put together thousands and thousands of years ago. Was it 6,000, something like that? I don't know the actual numbers, but it's approximately 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. The Mayans, these sort of Central American tribal people, but when I say tribal people, don't for a second think they were anyway but anything like primitive. These were seriously advanced societies, cultures. And they created this calendar that basically counted down over thousands of years, which ran out 2012, interestingly enough. So does that correspond with this switch, this change, this shift, paradigm shift into the age of Aquarius? It's a good question, I think. I would, my intuition would say yes, that is exactly what they're talking about. Because there's this concept with the great year, 24, 25, 26,000 years, where the solar system moves above and below the galaxy. So basically 12,000 years under, 12,000 years above, and give or take 2,000 years going through the galaxy. You know, the galaxy, you see in the pictures, is sort of rotating spiral, like a throwing star shape, right? So we're quite far out in terms of the galaxy, relatively speaking. Not near the center, Alcyon, the constellation of the Pisces, Palladians, I beg your pardon, very connected with Pisces. And yeah, so rumor has it, in the word on the Galactic street, is that we are now finishing the lower arc of 12,000 years and moving into the photon belt or the photon band, which, you know, there's not many people around, or even written documentation around, that will tell us with any degree of accuracy what that means to move into the photon belt, into the 2,000 years in between the 12,000 year arcs above and below the galaxy. Anyway, back to the current times of astrology. So Pluto has moved into Aquarius. Neptune, I think in February, a couple of months away, is going to be in Aries full time, and for another 15 years or so, many, many years. And Uranus for approximately 7-8 years. I think in April it arrives in Gemini. It popped in last year for a couple of months. They sort of, like a tide, move back and forth with retrograde movement. But moving into Gemini creates this very harmonious trine, which is a 60-degree angle between Pluto and Gemini. But also in between those two is a sextile aspect with Neptune and Saturn. At a 30-degree angle, equidistant between Pluto and Gemini, in Aries, transitioning between the end of Pisces, beginning of Aries, for Neptune and Saturn. This then creates, I mean, it's powerful in itself. These trines and sextiles are very harmonious. You know, I don't want to say good or nice or these kind of things, but they do suggest that we are at a collective and societal time of harmony. I'm just going to leave it broad like that. You know, the details are yet to be fully appreciated. But I also want to talk about opposite Saturn and Neptune on the transition between Pisces and Aries, because there's a space over there which is the cusp between Libra and Virgo, which is exactly opposite the position of Neptune and Saturn. And so when the faster moving planets, back to our watch, the minute hands or the second hands, you know, the fast planets, the Moon, the Sun, Venus, Mars, etc., even Jupiter. But that space, when planets hit that point on the cusp between Virgo and Libra, that will complete a kite figuration aspect. And this is especially potent in a harmonious way. That will create a grand trine, 3 lines creating an equilateral triangle, 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees, between whatever arrives at this early point of Libra, and it will be a grand air trine, a grand trine, 3 trines. But don't forget as well that sextile shape connecting Saturn and Neptune to the situation. I've been looking forward to this configuration for a long, long time, because I firmly believe that this will be the tangible, practical arrival of this Age of Aquarius. And when you look at the characteristics of Aquarius, we're looking at pioneering, revolutionary, eureka moments of cognitive and mental euphoria. I don't know if that's OTT, a little bit too ecstatic. But the other aspect is that all those signs that are being vacated are earth and water, feminine signs. The masculine signs are air and fire. And so Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, air signs. Cerebral, cognitive, theoretical, information-based, understanding, appreciating, finding out, these kind of words, mental mind words. And then the fire signs, in this case Aries, which is the first sign of the whole zodiac. It's a very initiatory energy. You imagine a seed starting life. There's an explosive aspect to it. And fire signs, they are impulsive, focused, action-orientated. Don't let the grass grow under your feet. Get at it. Get doing it. And you look at the situation of the world at the moment, and all these sort of structures, infrastructure of our societies, whether that be religions and churches, or politics, or royal families, etc., etc. Local community councils, etc., etc. These are looking old and bedraggled and tired and exhausted and ready for change in many respects. The world is shifting. The transitions are beginning to become more and more apparent, if not obvious. And this very much ties in with the astrology of our time. So I think as an overview, I'm going to leave it there. We'll perhaps come back to these topics in a little bit more detail, look at the individual aspects. But for now, I think we'll sign out for this one and leave you with a beautiful sunset, which perhaps is very appropriate for the end of the Age of Pisces, where the watery self-sacrifice, the shadow side. Each sign has a shadow side, right? And as you come to the end of something with a sign, you tend to get the dregs, what's washed up on the beach as the tide leaves. And so perhaps as we move into fire, air and masculine signs, we'll get that wholesome leadership that has perhaps been absent and missing for a very long time. You look at these fakes and these frauds and these phonies who stand up as leaders, representatives of we the people. No, it's covert and hidden and deceptive. These are the shadow sides of the end of the Age of Pisces. And the freshness of what's arriving will hopefully blow the cobwebs off the degradation, societal parameters, infrastructures. As they say in Wales, hwyl y fawr. Goodbye, see you again next time.